Did Willie Startle really change the course of Western music? I wonder what Robert Beaser is up to. What does DJ have against soft guitar strings? Where can I hear the Rouse oboe concerto? The answer to all these and more in this month's episode of the Puckett Sparr Radio Show.
This is Michael Chorkey, and you're listening to the Puckett Sparr Radio Show.
And we're off to the Big Apple where we catch up with Robert Beaser. Bob, tell us a few things that you have coming up that you're excited about.
Well, I'm really excited about this performance I'm getting of my folk songs by Michael Stern and the Iris Orchestra in Memphis in early December. I'm also going to be looking forward to the second performance of my big guitar concerto I wrote for Elliott Fisk. Delta David Geyer is doing it with South Dakota in early January. I'm also finally doing a wind ensemble, the arrangement of Manhattan Roll, which is going to be played at the Midwest Band Conference in Chicago and conducted by Steve Davis, who put together a wonderful consortium of 24 bands. I think it's a piece I've been wanting to do for band for a long time, so this is great. And I'm also writing a little piece for Jerry Schwartz for his farewell year. It's going to be done on a concert early 2011 in February. It's going to be featuring Pinky Zuckerman, and it's going to be a little 3-minute job. So looking forward to that.
And that's it from the Big Apple. Our thanks to Robert for joining us.
And now is the time on the Puckett Sparr Radio Show where we shoot the breeze. And this week's guest is Christopher Rouse.
So, hey, Chris, it's great to have you with us.
Hey, guys, how are you?
Oh, we're doing great. How are you?
I'm fine.
I love talking baseball with you, and I was hoping we could talk some baseball today.
Yeah, okay. Well, just talk about the Orioles. I don't want to talk about anybody else.
Hey, have you ever told me the story about the first time you went to Memorial Stadium?
The first time I went to Memorial Stadium? No, I don't even remember the first time I went to Memorial Stadium.
So you went all the time when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, when I was little, yeah. Yeah, we went, I think we went the opening season. I'm sure not the very opening day, but I think the Orioles moved from St. Louis in 1954. And sure, I remember when Paul Richards was the manager, and they had people like Al Pilarczyk and George Kell at third base, and Bobby Johnson pitching, Billy Lowe's, Gus Triandos, all these players who, of course, back then in the 50s were godlike. The team wasn't that great yet, but they could win games, and they were never a complete pushover. So, you always went to the park feeling that you had a chance. And I remember seeing a couple of great games. There was a famous game in 1961 where the Orioles were down 7-2 in the 8th inning, and then came back and scored 7 runs. And the Yankees.
Were you at that game, or were you just watching?
I was at that game, yes. And I was also at the last game of the World Series in 1966. It was Game 4. We'd gotten tickets long before. We never had anticipated that would end up being the last game of the series that year, that the Orioles would be sweeping the Dodgers in 4 games.
Was that the Duke Snider Dodgers, or was that later?
A little bit later. Yeah. It was the Sandy Koufax, Don
Drysdale, right.
Right. Yeah, the Dodgers were expected to win the series. The idea that the Orioles would not only win it, but win it in a 4-game sweep was just incomprehensible. So we had tickets to Game 4, and who knew that that was going to be the final game? But it was great. Frank Robinson hit a home run, and as I recall, the score was 1-0.
So if I made you choose, would 66 be your favorite Orioles team?
66. Well, 66 was a great team. Obviously the 83 team was a great team, too. Of course, the 79 team was a great team, but they lost the series. That one,
right.
I remember my music changed at that point. I had been writing much happier music earlier in mid-70s, but I swear, after that, I was in a really deep funk for a couple of weeks. They were up 3-1 over the Pirates, and all I needed to do was win one more game, but nope, the Pirates took the last 3, and it was just a nightmare. And I was really blue for a couple of weeks afterwards, and the music that I started writing after that was much darker than the music I'd been writing before the series. So,
do you remember what piece you wrote right after that?
Mitternach's Lieder. which is a set of songs of texts of Georg Trakl. Very, very disturbing poetry.
And it's all Earl Weaver's fault.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess I'd really have to put the blame on Willie Stargell.
Yeah.
He clobbered us. He really did. I met him a couple years later for something. I said, I got to tell you, I'm an Orioles fan. And he said, hey, I was just doing my job. I'm sorry, man. So
That's crazy. I have a Willie Stargell story, too. He was a batting coach in Atlanta in the mid-'80s. Uh-huh. And I was hitting golf balls one day, and my dad said, Joel, that's Willie Stargell in the booth 2 down. You should go get his autograph. I said, that can't be Willie Stargell. He said, because at that point I just thought, these aren't real people. And but no, sure enough, I went up. I guess I was probably 8 or 9. Asked for his autograph. He was so nice. It was such a nice guy.
He was a nice guy. Unfortunately, he didn't play for my team. Because that's the thing. People think I'm a baseball fan. I'm not a baseball fan. I'm an Orioles fan. I do not appreciate the well-turned play by the opposing team or the great pitching performance. I am very partisan, and it's my team or nothing. So, I love the game, but I love the game a lot more when the Orioles win, which hasn't been happening much lately.
Well, Chris, this has been a lot of fun, and so we're coming to the end of our time, and we always like to have people, plug what they're up to. So why don't you let people know where you're going to be over the next few months and what you're working on?
My oboe concerto is being done a couple times this year. In the winter, once by New York Philharmonic and their principal oboist, and then by the Philadelphia Orchestra with their principal oboist. And so I plan to be at both those, and I'm glad that piece is beginning to make the rounds. My 3rd symphony, which will be premiered in the spring with David Robertson and the St. Louis Symphony. So I'm at work on that at the moment.
Fantastic. So when do you plan on having that all finished?
Well, I'm hoping to have it finished by the time that the premiere happens. It's going to be tight, though.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for joining us today. It was really a great pleasure having you here and talking baseball with you. So have a great time in Philadelphia and New York, and go Orioles.
You bet.
Shoot, 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 shoot. The breeze. Shoot, 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 shoot. The breeze.
And welcome back to the Puckett Sparr Radio Show, brought to you as always by Puckett Sparr in Baldwin, Kansas, where bikers are always welcome. Puckett Sparr in Baldwin, Kansas, where the Natty Boh and Budweiser are always cold. Please let them know that the Puckett Sparr Radio Show brought you into Puckett Sparr and receive 15 cents off your chicken wings. Puckett Sparr, where if you're listening to this program, your next beer could be your last.
Joel Puckett and DJ Sparr would like to thank you for not ordering the chicken wings, as they had to pay for it themselves.
And we're off to the Windy City, where we catch up with Augusta Read Thomas. Augusta, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Joel. And I wanted to say that I'm really looking forward to a performance of a work of mine entitled Daylight Divine, which is for solo soprano, large children's chorus, and orchestra, which will be done by the New Haven Symphony Orchestra with Hannah Park, a young soprano soloist, and the Fairfield Children's Chorus. Composing for voice is a huge passion of mine. And in fact, the largest part of my catalog is music for voices. In this particular work, I set the poems of Gerard Manley Hopkins, and I'm really very thankful to their whole team for presenting Daylight Divine. Currently, I'm composing a work which was commissioned by the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra, which they're going to premiere in Carnegie Hall in December of 2011. And this is a work which features 2 singers, Sasha Cook and Nathan Gunn, the superstar singers, which I tentatively have titled White Fire of the Stars.
Well, we'll look forward to that performance. Our thanks to Augusta for joining us, and that's it from Chicago.
And this brings us to Questions and Improv, where we choose the best questions from our audience, and then we have a special guest improvise over us answering them. And this month's special guest is
Carter Pann.
Thanks, man.
All right, so our first question comes to us from Ronnie in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and he wants to know, Sparr, what kind of guitar strings do you use?
Oh, I use Elixir guitar strings. the 10s, the little bit heavier version. It's a short, easy guitar answer. Joel, a question from Maya. She wants to know about the pressure for contemporary composers to always be writing new, different, edgy, or often atonal stuff.
Wow. Well, there's pressure everywhere all the time, and I just, for me personally, I just try to write things that I want to hear, and given whatever context, I just always try to follow my gut.
Yeah, I think for me, same thing. I just read that, and I actually thought that maybe the new atonal is tonal. So it's kind of like if you're being edgy, atonal's not really that edgy anymore.
Right, it's almost more edgy to be tonal. All right, this next question comes to us, next question for both of us, from Mark in Reston, Virginia, and it's how about a rundown of your home office setups, guys?
Oh, my home office setup is a really cheap laptop from Staples that I got for $300 this summer, and a LG monitor, which adds a little bit of surface space to the visuals there. And then I have a Roland JV, let me see. Roland RD700 synthesizer. I have two M Audio studio file speakers. I have a Tascam digital job for putting stuff into the computer with audio. I have a whole load of guitar gear, which doesn't really count. And I run Sibelius 6 point whatever the latest Sibelius is. That's pretty much the main part. I have a guitar synthesizer as well. What about you?
And I'm using just pretty much off the rack Mac stuff. My MIDI input is M Keys Pro 88, and that's about it. I mean, I use Finale, and I use the Garriton Personal Orchestra.
So Joel, Steve in North Carolina wants to know, why are there not more Vegas horns in band music?
I have no idea what a Vegas horn is, but you know who might know? Michael Torkey, since he's in Vegas, and we're going to have him on next month, so maybe we'll ask him that question. So we'll put a pin in it, Stephen.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for Questions and Improv. We'd like to thank our special guest,
Carter Pann,
for helping to keep this from being too mundane, because, hey, it's 2010, and that's no time to be bored.
We're headed over to London to the Fulham and Chelsea match, where we catch up with Oscar Bettison.
Yeah, so I'm going to Germany in a couple of weeks. Need peace of mind for 4 drum sets. Looking forward to it.
And Oscar, tell the people what you're working on right now.
Actually, I'm not working on anything at the moment.
And that's it from London. Thanks to Oscar for joining us.
Well, everyone, it's been a fun radio show, and we're looking forward to the next one. Special thanks to Christopher Rouse, Robert Beaser, Augusta Read Thomas, Oscar Bettison, Carter Pann for his fine piano improvisation, and Roshanne Etezady for the forum. Next month, we'll hear from Michael Torkey about playing cards in Vegas and updates from the likes of Michael Dougherty, Pierre Jalbert, and many others. You can find out more about us at joelpuckett.com, djsparr.com, Facebook, Twitter, and puckettsparradioshow.blogspot.com. Well, it was what it was. See you all the next time.